If you don't want to live with then we are getting a divorce. I
My husband, Tom, said this to me with a serious face. To that, I tried to reply with, but then he starts to scold me as if we manly fight.
am an only child, so it is my duty care of my parents. You knew about this, and now you don't want to live with me anymore? Is that what you're saying?
I was so surprised that I couldn't anything back to Tom when I should have. I am not opposed to living with him, but I am just feeling very frustrated and stressed all the time with his extreme unreasonable demands. Since my husband Tom was an only child, he seems to have been raised with a lot of, well, too much love from his parents. Tom was so spoiled that even as a child, he got anything he wanted, and his parents praised him on anything and everything. Tom's surprise: his parents bought a semi-double luxurious bed that costed $1,000 just because he said the bed is too comfortable. This happened when he was just a young student. Since they were like that as in-laws after we were married, they would send many unreasonable demands. For example, my mother-in-law raised eyebrows when she saw me buying a large bag of chicken thighs, which are more affordable when we were tight on money.
Stella, recently, Tom has been complaining cooking is not yummy and not satisfy because you only cook chicken thighs. Just because it's cheap doesn't mean you have to cook it all the time. Sometimes, why not try something delicious?
Since my mother-in-law, Clara, would think that I should try to cook a pork roast, I decided to do just that. My father-in-law, Richard, would also appreciate it.
Isn't pork steak what poor people? Shouldn't you make him a beef steak since he's working so hard? I seriously feel bad for Tom, for master wife from a poor family.
If Clara and Richard thought that Tom was not satisfied with anything, they would immediately blame it on me, and it would be my fault. Also, they would say how they pity it. Every time I saw my friend, I felt very stressed. But Tom is an only child. I knew one day he would say about the parents, so I was being prepared. I am also an only child too, an only father, Bob. We were well off, and Bob raised me own. Bob was perfect at doing household chores. So every time I would go back and visit, that's all I needed to do. Bob, too, didn't expect anything from assistive. Bob, too, didn't expect anything from...
I understand that you are already dealing with your in-laws. No need to worry about me, Stella.
Every time I visit him, he always tells me that, and also makes sure that he is proud of me for it. Perhaps it was because of those worries my father had that I was able to withstand unreasonable demands from Clara. Just then, my father passed away. According to my father's friend, Sarah came to the funeral, told me that Bob had been suffering from cancer for several years. He probably kept it a secret from me, be a burden on me. He did not show any sign of cancer hint of illness to me. My father, who spent many years as a parent, never revealed his illness to the very end, just because he loved and didn't want to be any burden to. To think about my father, I can't stop crying.
Your father was too young to die.
Clara and Richard, who had come to the funeral, greeted me.
Us too. We'll never know if we will sick and be hospitalized. I am too horrified to think about dying alone, not even seeing my child at the time of my death.
Yes, after all, if you are the child, you have to take care of your old parents. We are getting old too, you know.
Instead of mourning for my father and feeling sorry for myself, Clara and Richard pitied me as a filial daughter. And above all, she pressured me to be Tom's wife. Since what they were saying to me was rude, I was about to say something. Then I saw my father's smile in the mirror.
It's okay, don't worry about me. You are doing a good job, Stella.
My father's words and his kind smile back to my mind. and I managed to speak words that were almost coming out. It was near the end of the funeral. Discovered that my father's estate, large tract of land in New York. Sam, who had kept the will, handed.
Such a big land and is one of the place in New York. It will be a waste if you don't use wisely.
Back at home, I was reading when Will snatched it up from me. And after he read it, he spoke to me with excitement.
Hey, what do you think about build? Family house here and living in with parents? Don't you think it's a great idea?
I was too shocked. I just repeated, why is my husband deciding on how to land I inherited to suit him and his...
It's too early to make a decision. Let me contemplate about it.
What are you saying? There is no need to contemplate about the benefits of using a V-Pane. For these kinds of things, you need to make decisions. Besides, I have been thinking about live with my parents for a long time. Then came with this inheritance of perfect. I bet God is telling us to build the house on this land. Don't you think?
I don't think so at all. There wouldn't be a God who would allow such things. I took a very deep breath and told.
Wait. Since I am the one who inherited this from my father, it is only right that I should be the one to take care of it. Let me contemplate on how to use this land.
Wife's things belong to her husband also.
Tom yelled back at me.
Besides, you have been living off, and when you inherit a land, it only belongs to you and you alone. That too convenient. If you are saying such things, then using my money, I
didn't say it belonged to me and only belonged to me. Since I am the one who inherited it, my say in how to use this land and you to hear me out about it.
If you have a better idea than mine ears.
Tom crossed his arms and glared at me, waiting for me to say something.
I can't think of any because it's so sudden. Wait, let me do my researches and choose the best way to use this land.
We don't have that kind of time to contemplate on it.
Tom turned his back to me. At this time, I could not talk to him further. After this conversation about the identity of the land, I tried several times to discuss it with Tom, but he wouldn't have anything to do with me. The only thing he would say back was, "We're building a two-family house." Sam, who I spoke with briefly at the conference, called me to check on me several times because he was concerned about me. Now that my father has passed away, my only source of comfort and thanks, I was able to keep my feelings into perspective and remain unbroken because Sam was listening and hearing everything that was happening between Tom and his mother. After about 6 months had passed, someone claiming to be an employee of a major building company called me.
The house you have ordered is about completed, and we were wondering if set a date for your final check. 1.
What? Ordered house?
I repeated in a questioning tone in person, on the other end of the phone, puzzled as he explained. He said the house was ordered to be months ago.
Tom, what is this about? Did you order a house to be built behind my back without mentioning it to me?
I asked Tom on the same day, but the answer I got back from him, sign of apology.
You were taking too much time to contemplate, so I went ahead and decided for you.
But you just did it without discuss. With me, which is horrible.
If I didn't do what I had done, you listen and just be unreasonable and we'll get decided at all.
What do you mean by unreasonable? Is it wrong for me to have an opinion about my land?
It's not your land. I said it before. A wife's things belong to her husband's also. Don't make me repeat myself.
But you could have said something to me.
Tom just sighed loudly, purposely, and said, "What a pain in the ass," under his breath.
You don't want to live with my parents much, do you?
That is not the point. I have the right to have a say in how the land is used.
Anyway, if you don't want to live with your parents, let's get a divorce.
I was surprised at how quickly this conversation went. Is your husband threatening you for not wanting to listen to his idea of building a house with his parents?
But
I am an only child, so it's my duty to take care of my parents. You knew about this, and you had no say in it.
And this is the reason why I had no hesitation signing the divorce paper. Was treated in such an unreasonable manner. My love for him was gone, and I had only frustration and stress from Clarence Richard. Both Tom and his parents told me to, but I preferred it that way anyway. My only regret is that they took away from me the watch which my father had left me. I called Sam and told him what had to that land.
That must have been hard.
His voice was filled with sympathy, became powerful.
But don't worry, we'll get that later.
What?
Without answering my question, Sam smiled. After the divorce, I was living in an apartment. I was looking for a job, but I wasn't in any rush to find one. I already had a well-planned, stable life in the future. My only concern was the land I had from my father. I didn't understand what Sam meant, but I still decided to wait and believe that everything would be all right because my father's friend. Then I received a phone call from,
Hey, you signed a contract to build a mansion on that land. Why didn't you tell me so? You framed me, didn't you?
What are you talking about?
I just got sued from the construct company because I built the house already or land.
Since he called me when I was meeting with Sam, I made a gesture of questioning Tom was talking about. Sam just smiled at me and took the phone from me and started talking to Tom.
Hey, Tom, you are speaking too loud, can hear you. Don't you know how to speak to a lady? The way you speak, wouldn't it be CC as a moral harassment?
Huh? Who are you?
Sam was right. Tom's voice was so loud I could hear him even with the phone in my hand.
I am an old friend of Stella's father. I have heard a lot from him. Stella's father is the one who made the contract to build the mansion. He was worried that you and your partner would use this land without Stella's permission, even though Bob only left Stella, so he made a contract to build a house on the land.
Why didn't I hear about this?
It was written in the will. You took the will away from Stella, so she couldn't finish the last page of the book, didn't you? Also, you yourself read only the beginnings of the will and felt better about it. Isn't that right?
Sam was right. After he took the will away from me, let me read it again.
As I was talking to Stella, she told me the truth, and when I heard the truth, I knew that you would terminate the mansion contract on your own, so I kept quiet about it.
I knew it. You framed me.
No, I didn't frame you. You dug your own grave. I did not do anything.
I could just imagine Tom's teeth chattering on the other end of the phone, and I couldn't help but laugh.
And also, I think Stella has something to tell you.
As Sam said that, he gave me back my, yes, I did have something to say too. That is why I needed my time. I was taking my time to find a way Clara and Richard to regret for let go.
Tom, I believe that soon you will receive a claim for damages and all legal fees.
What do you mean?
The voice of Tom was so loud and so dumb.
What do you mean by that?
Tom, since you used my land behind without my permission, I was so frustrated that I did a lot of research. And then I found out that I could claim damages if a house was built on my land without permission.
You've got to be kidding me. It was not without permission that the wife belonged to the husband.
But I am not your wife right now.
As I said this, Tom just didn't know say back.
That land is still mine right now because we got divorced. You have no right whatsoever to use my all.
But when I built the house, we were married.
Yes, behind my back without my permission. Without my permission, you built a house on my land, and when I found out, you divorced me.
Again, Tom was silent. So, I continued.
Oh yeah, by the way, all the conversation we had about the house and land ISIS, there anything else you need to know? The fact that you started saying that you'll build a two-family house on my property without my permission is unacceptable. And every time I would say something, you would just harass and scold me. But this is all recorded. I talked to a lawyer about this recording. This is for the alimony.
I heard Tom say, damn on the phone. Then, without any further ado, he just got up.
Wow. He just hanged up. I had more to say.
As I said that, Sam laughed.
You had more to say? Stella, you go, girl.
I know, right? Sam, you're pretty mean too. You didn't tell me about the mansion.
I could have told it to you, but I knew that you would be like this with Tessa. I am proud of you.
Sam looked so happy. I smiled.
Thank you.
Then, it didn't take long before Tor again. But this time, he didn't call with attitude like before. He was so upset that he sounded like he was about to start crying.
Stella, I am sorry. You're the only one for me, and I sown you, so let's get married again. I
can't believe you now. After all you put me through.
know. I am sorry. I am very sorry. I'll apologize as many times as I have.
No way. If I get married, you and your pair get together again and pick on me, I
won't do that.
I knew why Tom was so desperate to back. After consulting with my lawyer, Tor parents had to tear down the house, back the land over to me. If that's the case, Tom and his parents had already moved out of their original home and will have nowhere else to live. In addition to the mansion construction company's lawsuit, there is evidence that they would have no other choice but to abandon the house Tom had just built. So that's why Tom is suing me and trying to win me back, hoping that somehow I will drop the lawsuit against him regarding the mansion contract. Or there were other ways I could have him. For example, I could just purchase Tom has built. If I buy the house from Tom, of course I won't pay the full price. Tom and his parents will get some amount of money. With this money, they could start a new life. However, since they tried to take it away from me, I was not going to show any mercy at all. So, without any of their say in it, to have the house they built to be demolished. After Tom and Clara called, then R called.
We are old and we don't have much. At my age, I can't imagine being on streets.
I will apologize if I've given you times. So, can we have another chance?
But I completely refused to comply demands. In the end, Claire hysterically cursed the devil, but it was nothing more than the howling of a loser. I replied, whatever. After that, the demolition of the completed building and the land was given back to the original owner. As scheduled, the mansion was built land. There are many tenants, and I have a very steady income. In addition to that, I am receiving compensation from Tom and his parents. I am receiving a reasonable amount of money every month. As for Tom and his parents, they hay into a very cheap apartment and is to get by. They are entitled to 4 times the amount of compensation for damages, as well as rent for the demolished mansion construction. Not being able to pay his bills by now, Tom is working a second job. Clara started a part-time job as a cleaner at a mall, where she would work in the evenings after school. Since Tom, Clara, and Richard have bond, I hope they will continue to and work together to pay me and the construction company off. I will also keep on checking on them. Sure, the payment will not be delayed. I won't lend a hand to them for sure.